Mr. Dave Hodgson. This week, gentlemen, I struggled with that.
You struggle getting that out.
Mr. David Hodgson.
Let's start with a fact.
Fact is, when he signed for Liverpool, he was the highest paid player in England at the time.
Wow.
1982?
I don't know what year it was.
Ish.
Very early 80s.
Who else did he play for, John?
Middlesbrough,
Yes.
Sheffield Wednesday,
Liverpool,
Sunderland.
FC Seoul. What it?
No, maybe, I don't know.
there's
Norwich,
definitely not an FC Seoul.
Swansea,
He's a Mazda.
Sheffield Wednesday,
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, Swansea.
Norwich.
But his managing spell as well. I mean, Darlington fans will know all the backstory, but in terms of owner-manager relationships, it's a mental story.
I don't think there'll ever be one like it.
No.
Ever been one since, or there'll ever be one like it.
Should we get him in?
Yes.
Let's get him in.
Get him in. Oh, wait, before we do,
Lovely kitchen
we
as
mention
well.
it every week. We mention it every week, but the Patreon. Thank you, everyone who signed up in the last few weeks.
Get them on your telly.
Yeah,
Sick of the sight of this, by the way. It's been playing on my mind.
Well, it's
You're
the
wearing
only
it a
clean
lot.
one I've got.
Well, not if I class it as clean.
Definitely not clean.
Well, what's wrong with it? And you've got a different idea so clean than I have.
Well, yeah.
Let's get David.
What after we've seen his puffy?
I can't believe we kept that in the last intro.
Right, let's get him in. In fact, let's enter his kitchen.
Lovely house.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Highest paid player in 1981.
We were speaking before you got here, because obviously massive Sunderland fan, playing for Middlesbrough, and we're just working out whether you played against or with me dad. But there's we don't cheer on the scorer, but there's every chance he got you collared by the youth team coaches, isn't they, when you were at the Borough?
Oh, I don't know. Hey, he must know that story then, does he?
Well, I know what you told us about half an hour ago.
Oh, yes. So, yes. Take two. Actually, yes. So I was a Sunderland fan. Grew up Sunderland fan, albeit I lived in Gateshead, which is not really a Sunderland area in theory, you know. So when I knew his dad was Alan Brown, obviously I said, I didn't idolise his dad because he was the same age, but he wore the shirt of Sunderland. So for me, it was like, oh, wow, bloody hell. So when I signed for the Borough, I was only an apprentice, and first year apprentice. And there was a coach back then called John Coddington, old school centre half. He's gone now, God bless him, but quite a strong character, nasty character in theory. And Borough got beat this particular day when I was apprentice, and you'll remember this, John, as apprentice, you used to have to do the change rooms after the game and things that they don't do today. And I'm doing this particular thing, the scores come up and it goes, Sunderland 1, Blackburn Rovers 0. It was just natural for me to go, get it! And I was like really like delighted, but we just got beat. The Borough side had just got beat. Big Jack Charlton was a manager at the time. And within, I'm talking milliseconds, this guy's got me throat and he put me up against the change room. Don't you ever acknowledge a Sunderland victory ever again in this changing room. I became a Borough fan literally at that spot. Sunderland were gone. And that was my introduction into pro football in terms of apprenticeship in the pro changing room with the first team coaches, and it was brutal.
Any interest from Sunderland as a young lad?
You obviously done your research because I ended up playing there. Yes. No, to be honest with you, we're talking about this.
I mean, as a youngster.
This is what we was talking about earlier on. Obviously, Alan, he was 63, your dad, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm 63. So we were obviously same era in terms of school football. And my father knew a Sunderland scout at the time. But this particular scout had said to my father at the time, oh, well, to tell you the truth, Jimmy, that was my dad's father, blah, blah, we've got a good young lad called Alan Brown. I was playing for the Borough, he's playing for Sunderland youth team, etc., etc. So we crossed paths so often. But in all due respect, Alan was probably, at that period of his life, was a better goal scorer than what I was, that's for sure.
Was, you say Jack Charlton were manager when you were coming through?
Manager. Yeah, brilliant. So Big Jack loves Geordies.
Just in general.
Just in general.
Just loves them all.
It had nothing to do with my talent. Just the fact I spoke with a Geordie accent, he just loved me. But he was hilarious, Big Jack. And you'll have heard all the stories with him. He was as tight as a fish's backside. But my recollection of Jack was training with a guy called Bobby Murdoch, who was a Scottish legend, who was a Celtic legend. And Bobby came across the training ground one day and he said, Hodgie, Billy Ask, whatever, I don't know. follow the gaffer. So we jump in the back of this Range Rover, and there's like 10 Labradors. Where the hell are we going here? And he takes us. Doesn't tell us, by the way. Off we go up into the Yorkshire Dales. And we end up beating bushes so as he could shoot the pheasants. So we literally, three of us, we were banging the bushes while he was in. And honestly, seriously, I actually said to him at the time, and he wasn't too far. I didn't have a particular good childhood in terms of being a good kid. I was a stupid kid. Bordering on potentially going the wrong side of the fence. And I'd shot somebody with an air rifle. I shot quite a few people with an air rifle, by the way. And on this particular case...
I think you might have already had a 1 foot with the side of the fence, to be honest.
And I was borderline, okay? And I'd said to Jack, Gaffer, if he passes a gun, I'll hit them for you. He wasn't happy.
There's been plenty of jobs I've heard of YTSs doing, but beating bushes for pheasant shooting.
That was one. And then his assistant was a guy called Jimmy Greenoff, just before John Codrington, the guy who strangled the living daylights out of me. He took me in a similar direction to climb up the apple trees and get all the apples off.
Over supper.
So I'm up the tree shaking the flaming thingies while he's getting all these apples.
So you went pheasant and an apple crumble for you too.
Yeah. So I lacked up on the goal score, and it wasn't because I wasn't there trained, it's because I was hitting bushes for pheasants and climbing up apple trees instead of finishing.
How was Souness?
Graham, great lad. So obviously, I went through different areas with Graham, I went Middlesbrough first and foremost, and I've never been punched in my life off an opposition player. And I've hit a few, and I could have expected a few back, to be honest with you. And he was the first person who actually caught me full on in the jaw, didn't put me down. Teammate. Well, I was an apprentice, he was a pro. And I think he used my jaw as a way to get out of Middlesbrough Football Club and get his move to Liverpool.
Was it Frosty before that? Or was it just out of the blue?
To be honest, it was just a training session. And I think that how I was as a player, I didn't have, I'm not going to say respect in theory, bit of a chip. Yeah, a bit of a chip on my shoulder, keep them gates out and give a who they were, get in among them. And he probably didn't like it that this apprentice was getting in around him and putting the stud on him or whatever, and so bang, clipped me full on. But there was an almighty brawl. Well, I say brawl, there was quite a few lads piled in on him. Senior pros all claimed they weren't happy that he'd hit this apprentice, I never held it against him at all in any shape or form. And then when I signed for Liverpool, one of the first people to come to the hotel room to see me was Graham. And we've been friends ever since. Well, friends before and friends ever since. Great lad.
You're talking about your youth coming through and being a bit of a chip off the old block and shooting people with rifles. Yeah. Has anybody within that setup, any coaches or anything, had to pull you in at any point and say, listen, if you want to make it?
I'll give you two stories here. Ipswich Town, at the time, back in the 70s, were the biggest club in English football. So I've gone down on trial with a group of lads from the northeast of England. Two, three went on to play.
Did you take your gun?
I took my gun. And I'm in and we went down at Christmas. And we weren't training because the pitches were solid. We were just sitting in a hotel, and I thought, hey, we've got to get out of here, type thing. So I took some silver foil from a cigarette packet, not I smoked, by the way, okay? And I wrapped it around the fuses in the fuse box in the hotel. It was like not a hotel as in a hotel, it was like a digs hotel. Boom, flicked the switch, boom, whole lot went up, blew everything. So we all had to go home, which is what I wanted because we weren't doing anything. Unfortunately, the next day, they lined us up in the changing room, and the coach, it was actually Bobby Robson's assistant at the time, was wanting to know who'd done it, and I don't know the kid's name, truthfully. Stepped out and said, I think it was the lad at the end, Dave Hodgson, who'd done it. So anyway, I never got invited back. And to this day, my father's long passed. He never found out why his son, who was already on the way there to go to school, never got invited back again. So that was one incident in my career. And then the second time, which was, I was an apprentice at the Borough, and there was two lads who lived in the digs, and they were quite articulate kids. A lad called Peter Johnson, Charlie Bell. Charlie went on to be a police inspector, so it gives you an idea. And Peter was, they were into the Conservatives. I was a Labour kid from Gateshead. So I got into an argument about politics. Well, I'm Scooby-Doo about politics, but I just wanted to argue anyway. Yeah. So I don't think I won the argument as such. I decided to trash the rooms. So I've gone up and I've took this liquid gumption out the hostel kitchen and I've like sprayed their beds and pulled the curtains and anyway, destroyed it. The arseholes went and told Mrs. P. That was me. So the next day, obviously, this big, huge meeting's taking place down at Ayresome Park, and we were playing Everton in the FA Youth Cup the day after. So we've gone into the change room, and there's a pair of boots, Adidas. Everybody wore Adidas. And used to write your number on the back. And if you remember that, John, you used to put like in, so mine said was 20 or whatever was squad number was as a kid. But it was taped up. And there was a gentleman called Harold Shepherdson. None of you will recollect this guy. He was the assistant manager to Sir Alf Ramsey when we won the World Cup. So he was this articulate guy that when you seen him, you didn't speak. Okay, you had this aura about him. And so these boots were sat in the middle of the table and the kids were all in the circle. All the apprentices were all the way around. And Harold starts off about the football club. And he's like your modern day sporting director. And he starts off about the integrity of the club, blah, blah, blah. And his voice was getting louder and louder and louder. And you knew something was coming. And all of a sudden, you see these two fingers come out. And they scoop the boots. I'm watching a picture of it yesterday, but he was facing the other way. So I'm thinking it's one of them kids. And he turns and he woof. And he smacks me with his boots. And he just literally said, empty this room, you stay. And he absolutely tore me to shreds. You're finished. You're gone. You're out this club. It's not the first. I don't know, a couple of stupid things. Yeah. You're gone. You are finished. Out, blah, blah, blah. Thank God Bobby Murdoch, who I also ended up having a great relationship with, turned to, and obviously not at that point, wouldn't have dared speak, I would have thought. He would have probably got the boots thrown on him as well, by the way. Said to me afterwards, a couple of hours later, called me and said, right, listen, we've got an FA Youth Cup game tomorrow. You're going to have to play the game of your life because you're finished. You're gone. And I went out against Everton in the FA Youth Cup and I swear to God, there wasn't one piece of grass I didn't cover. We got battered, but I covered every ounce possible and then kept me. So the rest is history.
Did the managers find it endearing though in a way that you had that side here? That you had a bit of a cheeky...
I don't know, Bob, I don't know. When Laurie Mac Menemy, but to me he's called Laurie me enemy. When he came to Sunderland, I had this impression that we were bringing, he was called the Messiah back in the day, okay? We were getting this Messiah. He obviously had an opinion of myself because you could not possibly walk into a football club on your first day of management into a new club and by the second day already make sure that, i.e. in this case, me, was out of it instantly. So he'd obviously done some background or something, I don't know where.
Maybe he's kicked off.
Maybe he's worked with the parents of the kids I shot, but I'm not too sure, you know.
It weren't his hotel in Ipswich, was it?
No.
I'm not sure if this was at Middlesbrough, but did you have a spat with somebody called Mad George on the radio?
Oh, no. So Mad George is George Reynolds, eh?
Right.
Okay, so none of you are aware of George. You must have,
yeah.
Of course you will. He's not here now, so it's not fair to speak ill of them. That's gone. But if we had time, and I could tell you the stories of what that particular guy tried to do to me here, even in this house as well, you would not believe it, okay? But he was the owner of Darlington Football Club. And when he first came, he was magnificent. He changed the face of Darlington Football Club. We were bigger than Sunderland, Newcastle, Middlesbrough on a daily basis on TV because of George. He was that big a character, okay? So he was on this big radio station in the northeast of England, and I'd left the club by now, by the way, and I'm going into school with my two little girls. And you know when you're going in and you can sense people are looking at you and they're like, I'm saying, what the hell's going on here? Anyway, I'm not aware of this particular show, by the way. So I've gone in, and as I come out, somebody rang me and said, Hodgie, you've got to listen to the radio. I said, who's on? He said, George. I knew straight away. And I thought, oh, Jesus. So I put it on. Century it was. Put it on. And he's disclosing every single player's contract, every penny. And lots of lies, by the way. Lots and lots of lies. So I'm starting to stuff this. So I rang up the radio station. I said, hi, it's Dave Hodgson here. I said, could you put me the guys called Goffy? Have anyone heard of Goffy?
Yeah.
Goffy in the morning? I said, I need to get on the Goffy show now. And this guy came, he said, David, you know it's live. I said, yeah, of course I know it's goddamn live. I'm sat listening on the radio. Get me on. So they got me on. So George was in the studio, Goffy and me. And they said, God, David, are you aware that you're on? I said, listen, I said, right, George, listen to you. I'm going to come on that radio show and I'm going to tell the truth, the whole truth. Because everything you're doing is destroying players and disclosing stuff you shouldn't disclose. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the bottom line was, I put the phone down, that was it. I had the police onto me, saying, David, listen, you got to be careful here. You know what you're dealing with. Had the LMA on, had the PFA on, and all of them saying, David, don't do it. I said, I'm doing it, 100%. And anyway, I did go on the radio show. He had 1 hour and 10 minutes. I had 1 hour and 10 minutes. I didn't ask for 1 hour 11, didn't ask for 1 hour 9. I said 1 hour 10, same as him. Told the facts, the truth, everything came out in that radio station. And someone, a girl called Lisa Charlton, who was my PA for all my time at Don, she said she was sat next to George and they were listening to the radio station. She said, David, it was incredible because he just got up and just walked away and didn't say anything. Now, you'd like to think that he would have said, that's it between me and him. Fjord's over. It was only the begin for me. Only the begin. This guy was ruthless.
But we'll finish on Georgia.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
good as gold,
we've got to go back to George. I'll tell you something. Yeah,
As good as gold, Lisa, isn't she? She came to your...
Yeah, Lisa was my PA for, full time. It was a dollar, 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Yeah. Great girl, yeah.
I might as well go with this one that's above it. Was there a bloke who was your double?
Gary Ingles. Yes. So
This at Middlesbrough.
got me in more trouble. Yeah, Middlesbrough. More trouble. Jesus Christ, can you hear it? So he was a double of me. So he had his hair cut like me. I was the first person ever have what they called a wedge haircut back in the day. So I had this wedge haircut, tash. So Gary sort of modelled himself on myself. But the only problem is this prat's going out on a Friday night. In Stockton, places like that. So the
Has he gone for the wedge and the tash as well?
With tash, if I got the two pictures together, you'd go, oh my God. But he was telling people he was me in the nightclubs. Obviously, when he got between the sheets, he would know it would be different. However, he was saying, hey, I'm Hodgie or Dave Hodgson, whatever. And he was getting me in more trouble enough because he was out on Friday nights and he's a great lad. The crazy thing is, he doesn't drink. He does not drink. Even to this day, he doesn't drink. So what the hell's he doing in nightclubs on a Friday night? I don't know.
Causing trouble.
He's trying to pick up
So yeah, Gary Ingles, yeah. They could, no, actually, his name is Gary Thorburn. But they called him Gary, they called him Gary Ingles. And the reason was that when he was a kid playing, apparently he was crap on the outside in terms of playing outside. So you say, Gaz, you're in goal. So they shortened it from Ingles to Ingles. So he ended up, that's how he got his name, Ingles. Because I used to call him that, Gaz. Gary Ingles, he said, Hodge, my name's Thorburn. I said, but why is it Thorburn when it's called Gary Ingles? Well, no, it isn't. It's because they used to say, Gaz, you're going in goals, and then they shortened it, Ingles. So that's the story with Gaz, yeah.
Who gave you your first opportunity in the first team?
John Neal, in theory, but going back to Big Jack, Willie Madron, who was an icon at Middlesbrough Football Club, who come through the system, fantastic player. He was having a testimonial, and Big Jack had said to me on this particular morning, he said, Hodgie, if you make me the best bath, I'll make sure I get you out on that pitch in Willie's testimonial. Let me tell you, I gave him the best bath ever. The bubbles were magnificent. Red hot, there was a lot. And I was like a bit like a gay, like I was like waiting for him to get in the bath so I could go and have a shower.
He likes it.
Gaffer, is that all right? And he got in there and I went across and said, Gaffer, is the bath all right? He said, yeah, fantastic. He used to smoke, Big Jack, lying there, bubbles up to here. And I was convinced then I was going to get me first run out in the first team. And when the day came round to the game, obviously I was still apprentice, I kept waiting for him to come and say, Hodgie, report the 9 to 6. And he didn't. And I went up and said, Gaffer, am I?
What was wrong with the bath?
He said, Hodge, Willie picks a team. I had nothing to do with it. He said, he caught me really.
Yeah.
I'm the bastard, yeah. Best bath ever. Caught me. John Neal was, he gave me my debut. Yeah,
And how old were you?
Man. Pardon?
How old were you?
18.
Yeah.
18, yeah.
When was it where the rumours started to come about that you were going to be going to be leaving? Because you played 125 games for Middlesbrough.
There was a turning point in the history of Middlesbrough Football Club. We got beat off Wolves in the quarter-final, second leg, or replay, whatever it was called back in the day. And straight after that, David Armstrong, who was a big player at the Borough, Craig Johnston, Mark Proctor, they all left. So I was sort of the last of the group who was supposed to be the kingpins of the side type thing. So in terms of, we weren't about agents and that. I mean, I was responsible for negotiating my contract then, and I'll sit here now and tell you, and I know it's a fact, at that point I was the highest paid football player in English football, at that one point. Good agent, eh?
Very good.
True story.
Yeah.
Fact. I ended up negotiating £1,000 a week basic salary, 33 grand a year sign-on fee, £15,000 car allowance, and £1,500 towards my holidays at the end of every year. They had to sell me Middlesbrough 1 year later, to tell the truth, because the club was struggling financially.
I'm fucking not surprised.
Yeah, well, that'll have been a burden for them, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, and probably getting me off the wage bill would allow them to bring two in, and which I understand all that now. But at the time you don't, do you? You're just a player. You think only of yourself. So I remember going to Liverpool, and Harold took me over. Harold Shepherdson, he was delighted to get this arse all out of the club. So Harold's took me over, and I've sat with Bob Paisley and Peter Robinson. And we had a general chat. And Bobby talked a bit like that, Bob Paisley. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. So got down to the wages. And Harold sort of shuffled away from me a little bit. I remember, what the hell is he doing that for? So, David, where are we at with the contract? And I said, well, be honest with Peter, Mr. Robinson, I called him, obviously. If you give me 10% more than what I earn, then obviously you give me a better deal than what I'm on, and for which case I'm joining Liverpool and I will come. I didn't want to go, tell the truth, okay? Didn't want to go. And he said...
You didn't want to go to Liverpool?
Didn't want to go to Liverpool. Did not want to go. I did
Biggest
not
club
want
in the
to...
country.
I didn't want to leave Middlesbrough Football Club. I was so happy. Why move? What would Liverpool bring in my life that I didn't already have?
Yeah.
That's how I seen it. That's how I felt about it, okay? So going was a case of Harold saying to me on the route going down, literally every half an hour, this deal has to go through a Middlesbrough Football Club. That's basically what I got all the way down.
Yeah.
So I knew the pressures.
But did it not excite you in terms of, I'm happy?
Not one bit. And that's before you even answer all the questions.
Yeah. The players, the opportunities.
Not one bit.
No. Just all about your personal happiness.
Just me as a person, how I am as a person. I never once thought I'm going to Liverpool Football Club, or I'm going to be joining the best players in the world, or I'm going to be joining the team which at that time were the best team. Don't get me wrong, when I got there I loved it just as well being there, but at the time didn't want to go. So when Peter sits there and asks a question, says, right, David, blah blah, I said, well, if you give me 10% more than what I'm currently on, then I will take the deal. He said, oh, well, I don't have a problem with that. That'll be quite easy. I said, okay with you, Bob? Yes. What's your wages, Dave? I said, well, I'm on £1,000 a week. And then I hit him with a sign-on fee, and then I hit him with a car.
And I have 2 weeks in Benidorm.
Yeah, and he just turned and looked at Harold and said, Harold? He said, yeah, that's what he's on. They said they need to have a chat. And then they come back in about 10, 15 minutes, they're white as sheets, and said, this is what we can give you. So I didn't get 33 grand. I got 25 grand. I didn't get me car, which was like a 15 grand allowance, because no player at Liverpool had cars. That was the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't get me holiday money, okay? But my salary was £1,000, and I got £200 appearance, and it worked it out. And that's what I had a 10-minute spell of thinking. I went, when you go on the wall and the dragon's there and you go and talk to the wall. Should I take this or not? So anyway, I went back and said, okay, a deal type thing.
Yeah.
So we agreed. And then Peter Robinson at the time said, right, Hodgie, listen, it's very, very, very important that this never gets out. I said, okay, I didn't have a problem with that. So the chairman, Charles Amer, Middlesbrough Football Club's chairman, was getting backlash off the fans because it sold Hodgie and obviously the other ones had gone, blah, blah, blah. I was the golden kid at the Borough at the time. And he went and disclosed it in the Sun newspaper. So I've just come back from Marbella, first week with the players, pre-season, walks in the changing room, who's in there, first in the morning, 100% was Kenny. Kenny loved a penny. Okay, so Kenny's in there and he says, Hodge, come here. Goes into the bathroom. Okay, I didn't know that side of him. Anyway, I've gone into the bathroom room and he's got the Sun newspaper under his arm. He said, listen, he said, if this is not right, sue them. So I looked and I went, it's all right. He went straight down to Gaffer's office. Straight down, instantly. Literally went down. I'm assuming that Liverpool would have to have gave Kenny Dalglish.
Did it come back to you? Did you get into bother or?
No, it didn't because it wasn't me. It was in the Sun newspaper. I didn't get the flack of it. But at that time, there would have had to been maybe Graham Souness, Mark Lawrence and Hansen, whatever, would have probably been in the position to demand that type of wage. Kenny, 100%. So Kenny was probably delighted that it came out in the Sun.
I'm assuming then you'd have been the highest paid player.
I was the highest paid player in football, in English football. And I think Brian Robson got transferred a year or so later to Man U from West Brom. His salary got disclosed, and I think on time. And then I remember reading Michael Robinson's article. Michael was a good friend of mine. But he's no longer here, obviously. And Michael put in his book that when he signed for Liverpool, he'd got that wage of £900 or £1,000, and I chuckled because it was 2 years after my arrival, but he didn't mention his sign-on fees or whatever. So at the time, and then I left Liverpool to go back to Sunderland, which was like the dream for me, and that's a story in itself as well. By the way, for half the wage, I went for half.
Just because it was Sunderland.
Sunderland.
How did you feel, ability-wise, personality-wise, when you walked into that dressing room at Liverpool for the first time?
Some big hitters there, isn't there?
But yeah, I wasn't daunted by it, and I got off to a great start. I mean, at one point I was ahead of Rushy on goals. I'm not a goal scorer, so I had like 3, 4, 5 goals, and Rushy hadn't even got off the mark. I ended up at 5, and he ended up at 35. But what the hell? But so I wasn't. It didn't. I wasn't in awe of it. It was only to the point that when you pick up an injury at Liverpool, there is no physios. There was no physio at Liverpool Football Club. So Shanks had Bob Paisley. Bob was the physio. Bob became manager. Joe Fagan was assistant to Bob. Joe became the physio. Joe became manager. Ronnie Moran, who was assistant to him, he became the physio. So it wasn't a physio. And then when I got injured in the Borough, mental, isn't it? And to think about a team that was the biggest team in English football, in Europe, in the world. Because, yeah, exactly, at that time. And they didn't have any physios whatsoever. They had a pulse machine, you remember the old one, you put the thing in, the lads would come in, and if you weren't looking, if someone's distracted, you'd turn the frigging thing up and you'd be up and you'd be shaking. And then the other one you're talking to doesn't help you.
Jump off it.
So that was it. And what they would say to you is, you'd go to the training ground and you would have to walk around the pitch, constantly walking around while they're training. And Liverpool's philosophy was that while you're walking around, they're training, that you'd mentally get yourself to the point where you knew you had to get fit to be in there. That was their mindset. That's how they were. Fantastic when you look back. So going back to the question, never know. But the problem was when I picked up an injury, funny enough, I picked up the injury, my first injury, coming in for a testimonial for John Craggs at Middlesbrough. So I came back to play in a testimonial and done my knee ligaments. And then stayed over on the night out. I should have gone home, by the way, and I stayed over on the night out in the Borough. Met up with my mate, Gary Ingalls. And then next day I went back and Joe said, what? And I said, Gaff, I've done me, or not, he was assistant to Joe, I've done me knee ligaments, blah, blah, blah. And at that point then, there was like a turning point. And whereas if I'd done that at Middlesbrough, they would have done everything to get me fit.
Looked after you.
Looked after me, spoke to you, whatever, loved you. Come on, Dodgy, we need you out there, blah, 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 blah. They didn't give a shit. And that was a point then, there was a turning point in me.
Why would that be?
Because there was so many big fish.
I was not mentally strong, okay? Even to this day, I am not mentally strong. Don't get me wrong, I ain't a coward. If you want to go outside, I'll go outside with you. But I'm not mentally strong in terms of believing in myself. I needed people to give me that belief. I needed John Neal. I needed Bobby Murdoch. I needed Big Jack. I needed my teammates to say, Hodgie, we need you to hear, pal, blah, blah, blah. Liverpool didn't nothing like that whatsoever. And our psychology, a bit like the terminology used there, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's funny because when I became manager of Darlow, and I wrote a book, and Kenny'd done some article and said about Hodgie should have gone on to be such and such at Liverpool from a technical ability wise, yeah. But he was he had no confidence whatsoever. And the lads who I'm coached to, like one of them, the lad called Neil Aspin, for example, Gaffer, can't. So they'd never seen that.
Yeah.
But it existed. It's still there.
Strangely, because you wouldn't associate those character traits with somebody who's good at being able to sit in front of an owner of a football club and negotiate the kind of contracts that you
I have a problem with that. Even to this day,
separate those two.
Yeah, they separate. It was me as a person. I could give you 50 people and they'll say, "Oh, Hodgie done this for me," or "Hodgie will do that for me," or "Hodgie negotiate this," all those things. But when it comes to yourself, completely different.
Yeah. I just can't get my head around no physio.
Oh, no.
So if
No physios,
if you do your hamstring,
no physios whatsoever.
You surely need some direction.
Yeah, well, nothing. No physios. We wore the same kit every day, big black jumpers, and when it rained, you were a ton weight. So I swear. Listen, Ian Rush, right? You will not know Ian Rush. Obviously you'll know of him, but you'll have never probably seen. You might have seen Rushy was prolific. When they talk about Haaland, I've just been listening to the radio they do about the strikers and like some Michael Owen. Let me tell you, there was nobody better than Ian Rush. Finishing, phenomenal. Work rate, incredible. However, when it come to training, he was the worst trainer in the whole world. Wouldn't run, wouldn't do nothing. Couldn't hit a barn door with a ball. When it rained and you get cold, we actually carried Rush off the training ground, carried him off into the change room, and we couldn't put him in the shower because he was suffering from hypothermia because he was that freezing cold because of these jumpers. That's how bad Liverpool were. Can you imagine that today? It wouldn't happen.
It's so mesmerising.
Because you'd have proper kit on. You'd have thermals on. You'd have this on, that on, gloves and everything. Nothing.
Was he actually struggling or just been
Couldn't move.
a bit soft?
I swear, he could not move. He just stood. Wouldn't run, wouldn't do nothing, just stood. Basically saying, how long is it to go?
So what would you have done as a manager with them? Would you have let him just do that? What would you have done as a manager? Would you just said,
put this way,
fair enough?
If Bob Paisley and Joe Fagan and Ronnie Moran didn't do nothing, what the hell was wrong? if they see it as being right, they didn't care. Because they knew on Saturday, Rushy would pull that shirt on and he will go out and he will just rip you to pieces. There was another crazy thing about this group of lads, by the way. So pre-season, so I've signed, I go out to Marbella, okay? Sonora's beach boy, you must say Sonora's, everyone knows Sonora's, right? So this group of lads here, who a couple I knew, obviously, some I didn't know, quite a few I didn't know actually, and I'm meeting them for the first time. The next day we've got a game. We left Sonora's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Bollocksed. Fizz buzz. Remember the game Fizz buzz?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 buzz, blah, blah. Anyway, and there's a lot of thickos in that team, by the way. So if you got caught twice, you bet your bottom dollar you're going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th. So if you're like where I was, who didn't go to school but I had the ability to count to 5 and get a fizz and a buzz in, I was all right. Okay, so I wasn't bollocksed. But several were bollocksed because they couldn't get past them because no, it's buzz down a shot, okay? And they were absolutely rotten drunk. Next day, my first training session with Liverpool, I was half cut. Pre-season. And this went on for the entirety of the week that I was there, every night. I missed a penalty and the lads celebrated because if I'd scored who'd gone to extra time, they just wanted to get on the Snorris roof. I put it over the crossbar, all the way we were playing in Malaga, it ended up in Marbella. Okay? And the lads were like, and off we went down to Port of Venice. Rat horse. Right? And then we go from there back home to Liverpool, and then all of a sudden clicks in.
Yeah.
Didn't see any
different mentality.
Completely. Switch off.
You won the treble in the first season. First year.
Was it treble in the first or treble in the second?
I've got it.
I think it was a treble in the second year. I think I won the double in the first year and the treble in the second year because the treble would have been classed as European Cup final, which was 84 season, which was Joe Fagan's season. So it was a double in the first year and the treble in the second year.
At this point, I think, and I've made the right move here.
Still never dropped that.
No?
Never dropped. That might just be me as a human being.
You win the double, you win the treble.
Yes.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I had quite a nice life over there, okay? On and off the pitch. Not so much on in the second year, because Joe took over. And to this day, I'll tell you the story with Joe and how I end up at Sunderland again, which is something which would never happen in today's world, okay? So Michael Robinson turned up, and so Michael was assigned in by Joe Fagan. So Michael then became in the starting 11, and I was out. So Michael wrote out for me 20 transfer requests, okay? Because he could write. Good letters, okay? Good letters. And so every Monday morning, I'd go in and I'd slaughter the letter under the gaffer's door, which was then Joe Fagan, okay? And this went on and on.
Why?
Because I wanted to leave.
Yeah, but
I couldn't,
suppose-
I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing and I wasn't happy. And the playing, okay, not saying this, I was getting my wages, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't playing. And I didn't play football because it was a job. I played football because I wanted to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Just wanted to enjoy it. When I hear kids say, oh, I used to dream, I never dreamed about playing in a cup final. I never dreamed about playing for England. I never even dreamed about winning a trophy. None of that ever mattered to me. It was just about playing. So after about a year, this is with Joe Fagan, I said, I want to leave. Gaffer, I'll give you 20 requests. Bloody hell, you must know what I want. He said, come and see me Monday morning. I said, okay. So Monday morning I goes in to see him. He said, where do you want to go? I said, Sunderland. I did know that they wanted me, by the way, okay?
You did or you didn't?
I did, yeah. Procky already rang me, Mark Proctor, my closer, he was there. He said, Sunderland. I said, yeah, I want to go. I'd go to Sunderland. He said, Sheila, get Sunderland on the phone. And she says, Joe, I've got Lenny. He said, hand it to Hodgy. So I looked at him, he said, if you want to go, there's your call. So I picked the phone up. What the hell? He said, you know what I mean? He said, hi. I said, hi, Lenny, it's Dave Hodgson. I said, the gaffer's handed me the phone. He says, if I want to come to Sunderland Football Club, I've got to ring him yourself. I said, I'd like to come to Sunderland Football Club. So I put the gaffer back on and he said, right, go train. I'll speak to you later. I went train, done train. Got home, answer machine service back in there, no mobile phones, okay. Hi, David, this is Joe, your gaffer, sorry, blah, blah, blah. Go up to Sunderland. Need you to be there tomorrow morning. Do not sign. And I'll reiterate this, do not sign, that was his exact words, not once but twice, until you speak to me. So I get there at 7 o'clock, Lenny's waiting for me, in we go, sit down. Right, David, look at the best we can give you is 5 or 6, I think it was 500 or 600 quid. It was half of what I was on, know that, etc., etc. And I gambled, I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll come for 2 years, and if I do this, then you'll give me the wage for the 3rd and 4th year. He said, okay, blah, blah. So I agreed, and I signed. And I rang the gaffer. I said, hi, Gaffer, it's Hodgy. He said, how's it gone? I said, I've signed. He said, you've just made the biggest mistake of your life, son. Take care, bye-bye, and put the phone down. Killed me. It killed me. Killed me so much, it played on in my mind for a long time. I took ill actually my daughter was 21, it was 10 years ago, I took ill. And I remember sitting over there and all those things in the past, all the demons all start coming back, etc., etc. And I was that close from throwing up. That played on me for that long. Seriously.
What was the main reason? The fact that you did it, or the things that you said, or
just them words at the very end? You've just made the biggest mistake of your life. And for years, I tried to justify what I'd done to myself. Like the pinnacle of my life was meet my wife. Okay, and getting married to my wife, and then my 2 daughters, who are like the best in the world. Okay, so all the way through there, all I've ever done is think that was the right route. Before I got to that point, there was many years before I got to there. And was he right in what he said? Did he say it in the I never ever found out. This is what hurt me.
Right.
Never ever got the chance to speak to him again. I remember speaking to Graham about it. Graham Souness. I remember telling Graham about it. And he went, the gaffer said that to you, and he never followed. I said, no, he never followed up. Never told me why I just made the biggest mistake of my life. Whether it was to do that, he thinks I should have stayed at Liverpool and became, I played in that position where they thought I could have been and went on to be whatever. Okay, that could have been his mindset. Or did he think I'd gone and chose Sunderland, which was the stupidest thing I could have ever done, but for me it was the best thing in the world. So it was all those things that in the end played on me for years and years and years and years, yeah.
Short term, though, did you just kind of like put the phone down and go,
Just got on with it.
get on with it?
Yeah, I just got on with it.
But it was always there.
And unless he knew that Lonnie the enemy was going to be the manager in a year from there, and I was going to be in the bad way. I'm not too sure. But it was a year later when Laurie turned up, yeah.
I've got one here before the cup final. Did you have a drunken brawl with a teammate a couple of days before the final? 84.
European Cup.
Shit, no, what? No. Yeah, European Cup final.
European Cup final.
Oh, that's a classic, that.
Were the guns involved?
There were no guns. There was some fist getting thrown. That was in Tel Aviv. Okay? So, fizz buzz. Playing fizz buzz in a square in Tel Aviv. 10 days before a European Cup final. We've gone out to thingy. I was that drunk the next day, they couldn't put me on the pitch. I swear, right? But not me, everybody, by the way. But the one person who, when I look back, was Bruce Groblaw. Bruce was a tough kid. He was ruthless. I say ruthless. We know the history of Bruce. I don't think he fought in the war and all these things. So we're playing fizz buzz, and it got out of hand. Somebody went to make a comment or went to have a go at Rushy. I had to go back at them. And then it was a case of me and Rushy back to back just windmilling. Hitting whoever was coming close. But within minute, the fizz buzz had long gone. Like it was like 5 on that and 7 on that one. But we were just windmilling. Oh, it was all took off. And next minute, within seconds, I'm on the deck and I've got Groblaw over the top of me, strangling him, the living daylights out of me. Bit like John Cotton. And so I couldn't breathe and I couldn't get him off. Anyway, it all calmed down and this big, huge brawl. Obviously, he'd finished, but can you imagine all these people sitting around this beautiful square in Tel Aviv watching Liverpool Football Club in this massive brawl? So we all going back to the hotels in dribs and drabs. I was with Alan Kendy and Rushy. We're getting back to the hotel and Alan Kendy falls down. So I go down to help him up. I can't get up. He can't get up. And the next minute, there's a director stood over the top of us called Mr. Moss. This is embarrassing. And I got to hold him by the kecks, by his trousers. And I start to pull myself up. And as I'm pulling him up, I'm pulling his kecks down. Right? And when I've got up, I put my arm round him and said, Mossy, you old bugger. Well, you're a good old guy. Whatever, at the time, right? Blah, blah, blah. We get back. We're now going back to the hotel. And we see Hansen and Stevie Nicol coming out the hotel. So I'm thinking, where are they going? Right now, where are they? We're all dead. So we go in the hotel, tries to go into the room, wouldn't work. What floor are we on, Rushy? I don't know, 6, yeah. Anyway, we're in the wrong hotel. Hansen and Nicol had already been in the wrong hotel and they were on the way out. But instead of saying, hey, Dodgy, you're in the wrong hotel, they just go, see you later, lads. We were trying all these room keys and we're in the wrong place. So eventually we get back to the hotel. Next morning, I come down, Bob Paisley stood there. It's got Rushy, Alan Kendy, and I'm coming down. He said, Dodgy, sit down. So I sit down, he says, what the fuck? I don't like swearing. My daughters, if they hear this, will go berserk. What the fuck else going on last night? This almighty fucking brawl I've heard. Sorry, Gaffer. Yes, this happened. This and blah, blah. He says, Alan Kendy, who the hell fucking hit you? Alan Kendy had a black eye. But Bonnie says, oh, such and such. Says the same to Rushy. He says to me, I'll take it you're the fucking hard man. No one's hit you. And nobody hit me. But he didn't tell him that. Bruce had never strangled up the help me, by the way. So he says, right, get the fucking breakfast. So we all sit down. And there was a bench, the table, there with a cloth on it. And Joe Fagan gets up, speaks. Mr. Moss, the director, gets up. He said, well, never in the history of Liverpool Football Club have I witnessed anything in my life where the players are so drunk they can't get off the floor and one protrudes to pull my trousers down, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, this is how he says. So then Joe Fagan steps up and he says these few words. And he says, would I be right in saying that the words used were, Mr. Moss, or Mossy, you old bugger, you're a good old guy, or something like that. And he said, yes. He says, well, with that, he pulled the cloth off. There was all the drink on the table. He said, enjoy yourself, lads. There you go. We're playing that night. I went on that pitch at about, I don't know, I was half cut. I couldn't even see the ball coming. And then, of course, after what? The next game after that, it's the European Cup final in Rome.
This is 10 days, 9 days
Yeah,
now.
1 week, 10 days before the game.
Thing is, Mossy was in the wrong hotel as well. Then, if you
Well, he came in with us. Mossy walked in with us.
what song did you get the players to sing before the cup final?
Cup final. Remember starting off the song is, I don't know what it is, but I want it. I don't know what it is, but I wanted to stay in our love. And that song sort of related to that actual moment because it was like a real special moment. You're going down for a European Cup final. But if you think about it, this is a European Cup final in Rome against Roma, okay? In their tunnel, and you've got this group of lads from Liverpool who 10 days earlier were pissed out their heads in Tel Aviv, fighting, singing the song to Chris Rea, and I'll tell you now, and the great players of Liverpool, Kenny, Hansen, Souness will also tell you the same thing. Them players there, they froze. They froze. Listen, at the end of the day, we won with penalties and Kenny scored. So what impact that had, I don't know. But right at that moment, you looked at there, they were white. They were like that wall.
I think everyone thought we've got this at that point.
It might have been
you wouldn't think
something.
Chris Rea would be, it's not the hacker, is it?
Yeah. It's not the hacker, no, it's not, you're right. But the way
It did the job.
Yeah, I think, John, come on, you've played. If you were next to a change room and going down the tunnel and a group of players were singing, it was such a special moment like that, it must sort of throw you out of it.
Yeah,
It's that togetherness, I think.
And I don't think it really affects us, but I would think, fucking hell, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, these are up for it.
something else in your-
These are
something else in
think
your
they're
head.
going to do it. Whatever. Yeah.
Were you favourites for the game?
Well, I don't know. We were Liverpool, they were Roma, but it was in their home patch. Nobody knew that when the venue was chosen, that Roma would end up playing in the final,
Yeah.
So, in reality, I probably would have thought Liverpool may have been favourites. So, you're on about players and stuff. Graham got injured in that game. He got done, I think he got done over the top. I had in my head it was Conte, but it couldn't have been. But however, Graham got done. And you would have thought in such a big game that if someone's injured, they would take them off and replace them. So big was he with his voice and his leadership qualities that he stayed on the pitch, Graham, for the remaining part.
To be fair, there weren't a physio, they'd take him off.
Well, there wasn't a physio to take him off, yeah. But, they put a sub on type thing, yeah.
Bit of a kick in the nuts for them over subs then,
Yeah,
really.
Moi. I knew the rep was on the wall anyway, so I didn't care.
Had Brucey ever done his jelly legs in training or anything? Or was
No, he was a unique character. He was, that was just him doing something stupid, He was always capable of doing something mad or daft or something like you go on a away trip or something. It would be a pool. He would do quadruple somersaults off the board, and you think, what are you doing? Christmas party. I don't know if you ever played. Do you ever play where when you've had a few drinks, you put your hand behind your back and you fall forward, and just before you hit the ground, you put your hands out? Okay, well, Liverpool did that. And Brucey didn't get his hands out in time. And he hit his jaw off the floor, and there was a big slit. And he went like that afterwards. And then when he looked down, the blood was dripping. He had to go to the hospital, get stitches in. Do you know what I mean? They're stupid. That's the type of lad he was. Do daft things,
Yeah.
Probably never changed. As I said, I was only with them 2 years. If you're with them for 5 or 6 years, I could probably talk to you in real warmth about them and say, oh, it was this or that. But I'm not in that position to do that because I was only with them for 2 years,
By the way, did Clough ever come in for you?
But apparently so. And then there was an incident. He came to do a big presentation in Madison nightclub in Middlesbrough. And somebody had asked him on the stage, and he said, oh, the only player I would take from Middlesbrough at the time would be Dave Hodgson, etc., etc. But I remember playing for Liverpool against Forest very early on. And I remember, I think I played very well that particular game as well. So I remember coming out of the changing room. Oh, someone grabbed me by my hair. My hair was quite long. Pulled me into this hallway. It was Cloughy. You'll be getting your hair cut when you join me, son. I remember looking, but the initial reaction would be, you just want to try it. But you would, wouldn't you? Someone grabs you, pulls you in like that. You must think you're going to go, but he got his words out before. Yeah. And then just let me go. And then I come back out the thing, I'm thinking, and Tony Woodcock says, hey, welcome to our world. As if to say, that's the norm type thing, I thought, what the friggin' is he doing? Is he stupid or what? And then I walked down there.
Is he stupid or what?
Is he stupid or what? I should have shot him. So, yeah, that was my only incident with Clough, yeah.
Matty has used this in this past week to perfection.
In the French capital.
Been to Paris for his a romantic break with his beautiful young lady.
Yeah.
But he's still dreaming about Leeds United.
Oh, watching Leeds in
Leeds. He's still Leeds. All he's bothered about, he don't give a fuck about Mona Lisa. He's not bothered about getting up that shitty tower. All he wants to do is watch Leeds battle for promotion.
And he did in Paris. All thanks to the sponsors for this week's show, NordVPN, one of our favourites.
Oh, aye.
If you don't know what the VPN service is, like you've just explained, Matty in Paris, maybe you're abroad, you want to watch something over here.
So what you do is you bounce your location from wherever you are back to England or wherever you need to be, whichever show
Prime
you want to
example,
watch.
Matty was in Paris, bounced his location back to Leeds.
It's as though he's on the cop at Leeds.
Yeah.
Marching on together.
Excuse me. Hey.
No.
Leeds. And
English pig.
security settings as well.
Oh,
didn't have to worry about that in France either.
No, nobody's hacking into
All your
Matty's
passwords,
account.
your bank details, everything that you don't want any nasty hackers getting their mucky hands on, keeps them under lock and key.
Man, he paid €24 for a French onion soup, so they might not have been worth fucking hacking into.
Enough about Paris, John. Have we got an offer?
Have we got an offer with the Undr The Cosh exclusive special offer? You get a 30-day money-back guarantee and a hefty discount by visiting nordvpn.com/Cosh, or just follow the link in the description and you get a heavy discount.
Was that double heavy?
Double heavy.
Double heavy.
You talked about that happiness. Sunderland, Boyle Club, when obviously there was a bit of confrontation when you did sign, but
Yeah.
when you took a breath after that phone call, would you like, I'm here now, this is what I...
Oh, yeah, it was like, we were talking about I didn't have dreams as a kid, but playing for Sunderland, had it not been for his goddamn father, I might have been there before that,
Yeah.
but it was like, I'm coming home. It's as if it wasn't a job anymore. I was coming back just to play again.
So was that a shock move, really, for the football world, if you will? From
I don't think
Liverpool
so.
to Sunderland?
I think had I gone straight from being in the starting 11 to making that role, that probably would have been, people would have thought, Jesus Christ, are you stupid or what? But I had that season where I was on the bench a lot and not being involved and that type of thing. So in a way, you're just out the spotlight for a year.
Where was Sunderland competing at the time before you...
Actually, at one point, we were higher than Liverpool, even to the point that I remember ringing to Sammy. Alan Kennedy joined us, okay? And Sammy was on his way to join us. So he ended up going to QPR. So I was telling lads to come and join Sunderland. Oh, it's fantastic. You'll love it, lads, blah, blah. Sunderland's a great city. And great fan base, big stadium, 35,000 fans, just as big as any other club in the country at the time, you know.
Did you get sent off Mark Hughes?
So, listen, Len Ashurst, right? Get this one. You'll understand this. And you both will, of course you played. So we're playing Man United at Roker Park, okay? Lenny Ashurst pulls me in. How are you? Blah, blah. He said, are you up for it? I said, well, you're right. Man, you obviously, yeah. Of course I am, yeah. He said, right, I need a favour for you today. I said, what do you need, Gaffer? He said, I want Mark Hughes off the pitch. You get him off the pitch, we win it. I said, yeah, that's okay, no problem with that. Mark Hughes comes in for a sliding tackle with me. Actually, I waited for him to come. As he comes down, we go down. As we go down, I smash him full on in the face. He's always going to react, isn't he? So he jumps up like a loom bin. I'm giving it one of them. What's the matter? What's the matter? The red card. My red card came out for him. He's gone, so I'm chuckling. Job done. Next minute, Brian Robson goes to the referee. He's now battling the referee. The referee bottles it because Brian Robson's easier, gives me the red card. So I'm off. So I walk up the pitch. Mark Hughes is in front of me. I walk down behind him. Lenny doesn't say a word to me, my gaffer. Doesn't get up and pat me on the back and say, well done, Dodgy. He just blanks me. Right? I get in the thingy, blah, blah. Anyway, at this point, we were losing 2-0. We end up winning 3-2. We battered them, okay? Monday morning, comes into the change room, envelope, pick it up, got fined. 2 weeks' wages. So I goes up to see him. I said, Gaffer, is this serious? He said, yeah. I said, you told me to get Mark Hughes off. He said, yeah, but not you. I said, well, I couldn't help that. He said, club rules, Hodgy. Got fined 2 weeks' wages. for getting
Thank you
Mark
very
Hughes off the
much.
pitch. Yeah. But the job was done, But we won, good game. I think it's one of those games where a lot of Sunderland fans tend to remember in certain generations because of the importance of it, at the time. Yeah.
Was he a bit of a wheeler and dealer, Len, with the tickets and that?
Oh, you're getting some good information here. Actually, he was. And the crazy thing was, when I was a kid, I told you I was a Sunderland fan, and where I lived, my dad was very, very, very close with a guy called Tommy Brown, who was a ticket tout. When the 73 Cup final came, my dad got me 2 tickets off Tommy Brown, for the cup final. But the lad who was going with me, Ted Cummins, he had to pull out, so I ended up not being able to go to the cup final, so I had to watch it sort of from behind the sofa. Every time we had it, I watched over the sofa. Every time Leeds got it, I went down behind the sofa. And I kept doing that all the way through. Anyway, the bottom line is, so when I become now a Sunderland player, we were playing in the cup final, Milk Cup final, all hell kicked off about the tickets because we weren't getting enough. And I knew Lenny had sold a huge bulk of tickets to Tommy Brown. I knew that. So, and I obviously had told the players as well. So I can't remember if it was Sean or somebody had gone up to see him, and there was an envelope with the amount of tickets in the bin. And when Gaff had gone out, I'm sure it was Sean, had got the envelope and took it down to the change room, and it showed that Lenny had got these 100 tickets, blah, blah, blah. And they were claiming that there wasn't any tickets for the players and the wives, and they'd sold them to the ticket touts to Tommy. We bought them, I know it did. So, I knew it had gone off. There was that leading up to the cup final for Sunderland was one of those moments where the players were just getting shafted. Nobody cared about us, in theory. The whole trip itself was a disaster.
It's a completely different experience to what you'd gone through with Liverpool.
With Liverpool, Whereas, for example, pre-season in the Marbella trip where I missed the penalty and everyone celebrated.
Yeah.
Leading into that tournament, it was like a 4-game tournament. Sevilla were playing, etc., etc. The lads wanted, the single lads, by the way, wanted some tickets for birds we'd met in Marbella. So we'd gone to Bob and said, Gaffer, can we have 20 tickets, 30 tickets or whatever?
You must have had a successful trip.
Well, 20 were for me and the rest of them lads. So the lads, Bob said, absolutely, no problem. Anyway, they wouldn't give us the tickets. So we're all sat waiting to get on the bus to go to the first game. Bob came and said, go and pack the Viking bags. We're going home. Right? All the organisers of this tournament were there. We're going home. The lad said, Gaffer, what's wrong? They're not giving you any tickets. No fucking tickets. No fucking match. Brilliant. We got the tickets.
I thought you were thinking, we're out.
Got the tickets. But that shows you how he thought.
He had your back.
To Lenny, obviously, God bless him, he's not here. And I end up being very good friends with him as well after football in theory. But so that was their mentality, that the players are everything. And I took that into football with me. I think that's my character anyway, but they were all the things I remembered. And I were the things that I made sure that every kid who pulled a Darlington shirt on got exactly that, So tickets scenario was terrible.
And what about picking the team, the starting 11?
So the starting 11, again, we played Norwich the week before, away from home, beat them 3-1 at their ground. We're playing them in the final, by the way, so we battered them at their pitch, okay? If anybody knows the history of this particular game, a lot of flack came on a lad called Davy Corner, who was a young boy at the time. He'd only played so many games. So again, Lenny called me up with Frank Burrows and said, Hodgie, we just want to ask you your opinion on something here. We're thinking about playing Davy Corner. David played. There was no worries about David as a player. He said, you've been at Wembley, which I had, to be honest with you, but I was at Wembley with Liverpool, for Christ's sake. To them, it was like a second home. They didn't go to Wembley and were daunted by it. Yeah. And I said, to be honest with you, Gaffer, it never hurt Richie Pitt. And being a Sunderland fan, Richie Pitt was massive for us in the 73 Cup final for Sunderland. And I remember saying that to him. I said, Richie became a household name because of his performance. I said, I think Davey will deal with it, And then on the morning of the game, Lenny made a cardinal sin, went round, knocking on different doors, telling different players, you're playing and you've been left out. And he left Colin West out, and Colin scored in every round in the enough leading up to it. So he left Colin out. And going to the ground, we had the problem with the tickets. Then I told the lads where our wives were, because I assumed our wives were where the Liverpool wives were. So we're all waving. I'm telling the lads, all the wives up there, the lads are all going like that. We only found out afterwards the girls were behind the goal. So who the hell we thought? We have no idea. So you can imagine all the lads.
It's the birds from Marbella.
The 20 tickets for them. We're waving to where we thought our wives should be, but they were behind the goal. They'd actually put the wives in among the Sunderland fans. Nothing wrong with that, because the Sunderland fans in there were our fans, but when you lose, it's not the best place to be. So the whole thing was just so wrong. Everything was just done wrong leading up to it, and the goal and how it happened reflected on the performance, blah, blah, blah. We missed a penalty. That actual incident was terrible, you know.
Was it David that made the mistake for the goal?
Stevie Daniels shouted to him, let it go out. And it was literally touchline. So he tried to shield it, and John Dean nicked in, got his foot round it, laid it back, somebody had a shot, it deflected and went in, okay? But they're trying to blame Davy Corner because he was a young kid. It was nothing to do with Davy. Davy was doing the instructions, or a senior had shouted out to him. Yeah. And it was unfortunate it didn't go out, and it happens now, even in football. And it also deflected and beat Chris Turner. Yeah. So, to be honest with you, it was just meant to be, yeah.
So were you, if you remember back that season before, are you a big character in the changing room? You're popular?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of us much of a muchness in theory.
So I'm just thinking when McMenemy's come in, the fact that he's just binned you after a couple of days, or not binned you, but...
No, he binned me. I'd settle for the word binned, right? If he binned me, I'd be happy with that. Okay. So he comes in, we have 1 or 2 days training at Sunderland, Seaburn, normal thing. Then we go down to London, down on the Thames, some hotel, can't remember where it was, okay? I was focused. I was very happy he was technically coming because he was a Geordie in my head, okay? So I was quite comfortable with that. And so I'm up for pre-season in a big way. And we had a day off, and me, Barry Venison, and Dave Swindlers. Dave Swindlers had just joined the club, but he already lived in London at the time. And he had 5 children, David. And he wanted to go and see his missus, and me and Venice wanted to go and do a bit of shopping, okay? So I went to Lou Charlie, who's Laurie's assistant, said, Lou, what's the remit for it? He said, right, you're off. Today's free. Okay, great. So he said, the only thing I'd like you to do is make sure you ring in just in case there's something organised in the evening. Okay, fine. So off we go. So I ring in at the point that he tells me the time thingy. Okay, I ring him and he says, where are you? I said, I'm in London with Venice. We were a long way out from where the train took us a good hour. So he said, you better get back. I said, why? He said, you're all going to pictures at 3 o'clock. I said, Lou, are you kidding me? It's like 2 o'clock or something, you know. I said, Lou, are you serious? He said, no, 3 o'clock. So I said to Venice, that's our afternoon short, son. We're going back. So Swinders didn't have to go back, but me and Venice had to get a cab. It cost us a fortune. And you go back in the 80s, I think we paid well over £100, okay? So we get back, and when we pull up in the cab, team buses sat there, and there was like 4 or 5 lads on, so we just got straight on. And the bus pulls away. So I says to the driver, Lenny, I think I said, Lenny, whoa, where's everybody? He said, oh, no, just waiting for you and Venice. So where's the rest of the lads? There was only 6 on. There was a squad of 24 down for pre-season. I said, oh, no, that's it. Just them want to got the pictures. I thought, you absolute arsehole. So we got the pictures, right? I can't remember what it was.
Good film.
No idea, but it was crap. I wasn't even thinking about the picture. So coming back on the bus, a fight kicks off at the back. Seamus O'Donnell, Irish goalkeeper, also happened to be a really, really nice lad. Not too sure what. So it kicks off, browse at the front of the bus, watching. We're next to the bus, so I'm not getting involved. Get off the bus, goes in. Next minute, I've got Laurie McMenemie in front of me. You started that. So I said, what? I said, Gaff, I wasn't anywhere near it. I know you started it. And off he went. The bus driver came across and said, boss, Hodgie wasn't in there, right? So that was my first sort of incident with him. Yeah. Okay. Then the worst, to be honest here, there was so many, but there was instances where he sent out a message down the change room, tell Hodgie I need to see him at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever. So I goes up, knocks on his door. Come in. So I go in and say, Gaffer. He said, oh, wait outside. I want to see you. Okay, so I'm still outside. Somebody goes in, 10 minutes, they come out, somebody else goes in. This went on. 5:30, I'm still stood there. I'm serious, by the way. I ain't moving. If he thinks he's going to get me, he ain't no chance. I'd already had a couple of instances leading, so 5:30. He comes out. I said, Gaffer. He went, oh. He said, are you still here? I said, yeah, you want to see me. Come in. So go in, sits down. He says, we got a problem here, Dodgy. I said, what with, Gaffer? He said, run me through a week of your life. Saturday, you don't play me. Sunday, free. Monday, train. Tuesday, resi game. Go out Tuesday night. Wednesday, train or dependent. Thursday, train. Friday, Saturday, you don't play me. I literally said that to him. He said, no. He said, I'm on about your social life. So I've just told you, go out Tuesday night after the reserve game. He said, no. You go out Monday night. You go out Tuesday night. You go out Wednesday night. You go out Thursday and you go out Friday. He said, and you've been doing that for the last month. I said, Gaffer, I ain't got a clue what you're on about. You go in the Pear Tree pub on Sunderland Road every night of the week. I said, I live there. He looked at me. I said, I bought that pub for my parents. I actually live there. I go in the pub door. I go through the stairs. I go upstairs. The top floor is where I live. He looked at me. Didn't know what to say. He said, by news, he said, see your gear. Because I was like trying, he said, I want this change. And he said, you're upsetting too many players. You're too flash with that gear. He walked out, sent me out. He had me followed. He actually had somebody come and follow me for 2 to 3 weeks. And apparently they were sat in the car park every night watching me go in and waiting for me to come out.
He's still not come out.
That's what he did.
Still not come out.
So this guy had a vendetta against me.
Yeah.
There's no question, right? And it went on from that. I mean, listen, we played Shrewsbury away, right? And actually, I started that game, which was like a miracle under Laurie Azams. And Laurie had this big 7 Series BMW. And we beat them. And we hadn't won many games under Laurie, by the way, okay? So after the game, we were told 5:30 on the team bus, we're back, okay? So all the lads are on the team bus, 5:30. I'm sat in the front, to tell you the truth, with Procky next to me. So sat in the team bus, 10 to 6 comes, 5 to 6 comes, 6 o'clock comes, Laurie's not on. So the lads are now getting angry, to say the least. So I go back into Shrewsbury's ground and said, excuse me, could you tell me where the boardroom is, please? Whatever. Yes, I'm going to go up and Gaffer, the lads are all gone berserk. We're on the bus waiting for you. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Okay. You go back in. Said he, come back, lads, 15. He said, whatever. So we sit down. Half an hour later, he turns up. He's half cut. He's had too much to drink. I need someone to drive me car. I said, I'll do it. Me and Procky lived in the borough. At this moment of time, this was before he sent this scout following me around the pub. So I said, I'll do it, Gaffer. Walk past me. Goes down the bus. The lads by now, they've already had a drink as well, by the way, so they're not driving this car. It was only me and Procky who was going to drive it because we had to drive anyway when we got back. So eventually come down, reluctantly says, right, take your time, drive this car. We got this car, 7 Series. Wow, we thrashed it. Thrashed it, right? It was like 120. It was magnificent. Big 7 Series BMW, okay? What we didn't realise is it was guzzling petrol for fun. So before we even got home, the tank's now near enough gone. So I fill it up. Put the lot in, fill it right up, go the last 20 odd miles, park it up, put the keys where the gaffer tells us. Next day, on the Monday, I go in to see him. I said, Gaffer, I put in 100 quid in the car petrol. Have you got a receipt? No money. I said, you kidding me? I said, Gaffer, I filled your tank up to the top. You'll have seen that when you go. He said, well, I need a receipt. I said, well, I haven't got a receipt. Why receipt? I'm telling you how much I put in. He said, no receipt, no money. So he wouldn't pay me. So, you arsehole. See, the following week when I went away, I wasn't thinking. Me and Clive Walker were paying behind. See, when he came back, good luck. All these tyres were down, let alone. I wasn't having that. Dropped the lot.
I'm expecting bullet holes in them, to be honest.
But listen, I said this, and I regret saying it. When I went to the 73 shown in Sunderland in what they call the fire station museum type thing. And I got asked on stage, how bad was it? And I actually said in front of 5,000 people in that room, I said, let me tell you, if I had a gun and Laurie came down there with one bullet, I'd shoot him. I regret saying it, truthfully. It was me trying to basically say how angry I was that this guy had done what he'd done and how he treated me. And then when I left Sunderland, I got offered 25 grand to tell the truth, say everything I had, and I declined it. I said, no chance. That's the other side of me, by the way. I said, no way.
Why?
It's not me. My father would turn his grave if he thought his son would go and do something like that. I said, no chance. So I said no. I went the opposite, flipped it, and spoke really well of Sunderland, because Sunderland was my club, okay? I prayed that Laurie would get it right, and I wanted that. I wanted Laurie to find the form or whatever he had that took Southampton to where they'd got. So I was praying that he was going to do that. And anyway, I left it at that, and that was it. I joined Norwich. Ken Brown pulled me in about a week, 2 weeks into the club, and said, pulled me, he said, oh, I've had Laurie on. He'd like to thank you for the article that you put in about him. 2 weeks later, I was headlines in the next paper. Absolutely blasted me. Myself, Mark Proctor and Howard Gale slaughtered.
In what way?
Oh, just ripped us to pieces.
Ability-wise, like the way you were playing, or
ability,
off the
ability, he never played me, for God's sake. On the games I did play for him, I did well. I didn't do well for him. I did well for Sunderland Football Club because I was wearing their shirt. Okay, just slaughtered me. And Howard and Procky.
So you had that 2 years at Norwich. At this time, are you thinking, I want to go and play abroad? Did you always want to?
I always want to play abroad. And I had 1 year at Norwich. And then at the end of the year, I sat down with Ken and he said, I'm going to bring in a big name signing. So I'm going to have to let you go. And I said, oh, who would it be? He said, Robert Fleck. I said, Fleck. I said, F-L-E-C-K. That's not a big name. It's only 5. I said, mine's Hodgson's longer. Like to the gaffer, and I had a laugh about it. And they brought in Flecky, and to be honest with you, he became an icon at Norwich. He was fantastic. And I'd already made the decision, and I had to get out. Yeah. And I decided to go to Spain. So I went off to Spain for a year.
Enjoy it, though?
Loved it. Didn't get paid for a year.
Oh.
So I got my first wage, and I never got paid for 11 months thereafter. And apparently that's the norm. So I never got paid for the whole year. I loved it. No, honestly, hey, what a life.
Tuesday night in St Andrews.
What a life.
Did you get your money in the end?
Got paid on the last payday of the year. And they had no choice. They had to pay, because if they didn't pay you, they automatically get relegated. That's the system out there. And basically, I'll be honest with you, we played Atletico Bilbao, and they wanted to come to my house to have a team meeting. And says, yeah, okay, anyway. So I've gone. I'm at my house. I opened the gates. It was out the way, and it was a big thing. It was like one of them westerns where the dust's all coming up. And you're like seeing the distance, and you can see, and it was like this fleet of cars coming up, and they come to my house. So it was like party in my house. So we were throwing the game. So they got the call: we can throw the game and get paid this, or we can win the game and get paid this. But we're better off winning the game, because we'll beat that team, but we'll get a better sum. So they're negotiating all this in the privacy of my home, right?
All the players,
okay? But at this point, obviously, I've not been paid, right? Yeah. So they have, most of them have, I haven't. So I'm really not playing, because if I break my leg, I'm finished. But they had this big meeting.
So you throw the game, lads.
No.
Throw the game.
They took the game to win, so we got paid to win. Good, honestly, credit them all. They weighed me in. They could have not had to weigh me in, but I got on great with them all, right? Yeah. So they weighed me in.
So they're betting themselves on it?
No. Somebody was paying us. No, we were playing another team. I'm going to say the team. We were playing another team from the north, and they were prepared to pay us to throw the game. But the team we were playing, we had more chance of beating. So someone had paid us to make sure we beat them, and we beat them. And the lads got weighed in. I got all my cash, blah, blah, blah. So happy days. Yeah. But those things happened back then, by the way.
Yeah.
We're going back 40 plus years here. People throwing games and taking dodgy payments, etc., etc., etc. That all existed. They had Grobline goal for them. No, that's a joke, by the way. That's Parry.
It's not again, bro.
That never happened with Brucey. I know they tried to pin that on the papers and all that. That was never the case. Never in a million years. Yeah.
Was you always of the mindset that you wanted to get into management?
Always. If someone had come to me and said, Hodgie, here's a 25, 26 when Liverpool was past then and Sunderland was a disaster. If someone had said, Hodgie, there's a managerial job there for you. I'd have taken it. And I wouldn't have batted an eyelid about doing it either. And again, going back to how I am and how I think, I literally woke up one moment and I said to my wife, I'm packing in. And she went, you've got to be kidding. And I packed in, literally on the spot. And that was it. And became an agent. Enough straight away as well. Didn't have anything else. I just became an agent. I already spoke French, spoke Spanish, already knew people abroad, already met agents from different countries because I'd played in all these different countries. So I'd already had a little bit of a platform to work from. And I basically bought a fax machine and then got to work on it. And
I suppose we're already having that relationship with the players that you'd had.
Yeah.
Giving them advice here and there.
There was giving players advice. And I helped. So when I look back, I probably could have cleaned up because all of the lads who I knew, I could have signed them up thinking, I didn't want to get involved with players. I was more like trying to find players thing. But there was one thing that came out and nobody had it. It was called soccerassociation.com. It was like data as such on all the different teams in the world, right? And I'll say a true story this. So I ended up where I had knowledge that nobody else had. And there was one incident where Sir Alex rang me about a player. And because I didn't have the Soccer Association thing in front of me, I bluffed that I was on the phone. Could I ring him back? He was on about a player. And I went on and I found out he had like 10 red cards and 6 yellows and everything. And they wouldn't have this information, by the way, right? I then rang back to then Sir Alex, but he wasn't Sir Alex, it was Alex, okay? And said, don't touch him. Said he's forever getting red cards, he's this. And anyway, they didn't sign him. He thought I was his genius. I wasn't. I just had this information that nobody had. So it was like a big tool for me. So everybody then was coming to Hodgie for like overseas players. I was bringing in players for fun. Scotland, England, foreigners, all left, right and centre, all coming in through Hodgie, you know, because I had this like information.
But they didn't know, they just thought that you just knew a player.
They thought I was a clever horse who knew everything about foreigners.
He must never be at all with me. He must be scouting all around world.
Loves at Hodgie, doesn't he?
That Hodgie, he's like bloody Rain Man.
Exactly. Rain. So I had this information that nobody had. And then about, maybe it could be 6 months, a year into it, I get this fax through from soccerassociation.com saying, unfortunately, we're going to have to close down our thingy because we can no longer fund it. So I'm thinking, oh, freaking hell. So I went to fax back to them. I wish I'd kept these faxes. You know, they'd be like, it'd be magnificent. And go back and say, and I remember sending a fax saying, listen, your platform is free. Why don't you charge clubs for this information? And why don't you send it out to all of the clubs in the football and take the thingy? And then 3 months after that, I get another one through saying you have to subscribe and pay 50 quid. Yeah, so I've not just kept their company alive, I've given them an idea, and then going on.
Right, so this is a platform that was available and just nobody else realised.
Nobody knew about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Who would you say was like the biggest name that you in that time?
Fabrizio Collicini went to Newcastle, and I tell you what, there was a good kid here. This is a good little story for you. 2 stories in here. Brought a kid over from Portugal called Jose Dominguez. Little winger, went on to play for Spurs. And I'd got a video sent over to me. And I watched this video, and I watched it, and I always thought, this kid can play, Jesus Christ. So I rang Barry Fry. Said, Barry, Lil Ficello, actually, he was chief scout. So I said, Lil, listen, you got to have a look at this kid. And he said, go on. And I explained, I said, look, I'll pay for him to come over. So I brought him over. And Birmingham at the time had about 50 players. Barry loved signing players. So they had this training game. And so the kid doesn't start half time. He's still not put him on. It's about 20 minutes to go. So I've gone to Baz. I said, Baz, you've got to put him on. I think I paid for his flights, by the way. He said, you've got to put him on. So he put him on. I'll tell you what, he was unbelievable. He ripped them to shreds. Within 10 minutes of the game being finished, the kid was in the car with Barry on his way to meet Karen Brace. Deal done. And then a year later, sold them to Sporting Lisbon for 1.2 million. I'm going to tell you a story. This was one of the best, funniest deals I've ever seen happen. So Sporting Lisbon wanted this kid because he was playing in the under-21s international. He'd done so well, but he was at Birmingham, doing very well at Birmingham. So Sporting Lisbon was sending 2 delegates over to meet Karen at St Andrews, okay? So I rang to Roy Evans and said, Evo, could you do me a favour? He said, what do you need? I said, I need a blank Liverpool Football Club headed paper. He said, what for? I said, I just need to create a bit of interest. And so he said, well, do not sign it, which we didn't sign, okay? So he sent me a blank piece of paper over. So I says to Karen, right, what we'll do is send a fax from one of the offices in the ground to your office. When the people from Sporting are sat down, we're going to tell them that the player also has Liverpool, etc., etc. And we'll time it, I swear. So Karen sat there. Karen was here, fax machine was there. I was sat there and the two guys from Sporting were there. And on cue, one of the staff, and they sent this letterhead Liverpool Football Club coming through. No signature, but to say that Liverpool Football Club are interested in. Actually, Roy did like the kid exams come through. So Karen said, gentlemen, we have an offer here. If it's matched, it's the player's decision. Well, the boy was never going to Liverpool because Liverpool didn't want him. And so Sporting...
She's right, that Aluko, isn't she? She's fucking bang on.
Deal done. £1 million. Signed him.
Signed
Then Sporting on a blank piece of Liverpool paper.
Did you just pluck 1 million out off the top of the heads?
£1 million we're putting on the player. We said £1 million. Karen, David Sullivan was the owner. David said, hey, we get £1 million, we're selling them. And Sporting said, right, we pay it. They thought they were competing against Liverpool. They were.
Did you go out at Sporting?
Pardon? He went to Sporting. He ended up coming back to Spurs.
I remember him at Tottenham.
Spurs signed him. Yeah, a little diminutive
share.
Yeah, he did in the end. He was sure they'd get, yeah. So they signed him. Million quid. There was another great one. Took this boy called Vladan Lukic to Newcastle from Red Star Belgrade. He was 18 and he was the kid who was taking the penalties, the corners, the free kicks. He was like the biggest thing in Red Star at the time. So Kevin took him up and Kevin really liked him and said, Hodgie, I want to sign him. He said, but I'm going to put the onus on you. Go and see what the best deal is that you can make for us. So I said, okay. So the Holger Klemmer was the agent. Vladan was the player and the guy from Red Star Belgrade was with him, okay. So we went, I sat in the room. And got to $1 million. That was the deal. So they then says to me, 250k is for you. 250k is for Red Star. 250k is for him. But to make sure you get the deal through, 250 for Kevin. Well, the one thing about Kevin Keegan was was as straight as they come. Right? He was like unbelievable. So, but I had the issue of having to go to speak to him. So I went to see him. I told him. And he went, Hodgie, I knew. He's not like that. He was not in that era, in that category of that type of manager. He was like Mr. Correct, like, you know. And he basically said, listen, I don't care if it's £1 million. But I said, the problem is, Kevin, it's 250 for him, 250 for him, 250 for him. So at the end of the day, my worry is you're going to be paying £1 million. That's not going to go to Red Star Belgrade. So truthfully, I don't want to be part of it either. And I walked away from it, so the deal never went through. I told my wife, she went ballistic.
She hadn't gone down the... If there's only 3 slices of pie, we'll share Kevin's 250.
I'd be like, yeah, just give us Kevin's sherry. I'll drop it off all the way back.
Yeah, so Kevin, likes, you know...
Yeah,
come on,
straight down the line.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And would that have been a dodgy deal or...
A dodgy deal. Well, it's not a dodgy deal. Kevin at the time, they didn't sign him, as it happens, which was okay, one thing, but Kevin at the time would have paid £1 million for this particular player. You know, there wasn't a dodgy deal. The money would have gone there. It was just the fact is that then, at that end, it wasn't right. 250 grand for an agent, 250 grand for the other agent, but Newcastle paying £1 million.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Imagine if that come out. You're finished.
Yeah.
It's just not worth. And that was against everything I wanted to be involved in anyway. So, yeah.
So who was bringing that to the table?
Well, the agent holder.
The agent.
Yeah. Who's working on behalf of Red Star Belgrade.
Just going on to Darlington for a minute. David Priest's message saying, have you ever wore a leather waistcoat?
I wore leather suits. I wore leather shorts.
That's fucking blown Priesty out of water, isn't it?
I wore leather shorts when I was at Liverpool and on Mob 8 trips and leather tops on thingies. I wore a red leather suit for the cup final. I wore a cream leather suit for the European Cup final.
But hell, you have worn some leather.
Yeah.
On your own? Like...
Yeah. My suit, the suit I had made for the European Cup final was a combination of suede and leather.
You did like your gear, didn't you?
I like the clothes, yeah. Yeah.
Not sure anybody else would have done.
Oh, actually, to tell you the truth, the girl who made them for me, she'd come to the ground and quite a few of the players got stuff made off her. Yeah, very good.
Mark Barnard says, did you leave him at Rochdale on purpose?
No, I resigned. I resigned at half time and he came with me in the car and I forgot. so that was when I was manager of Darlow. So
Is this your first?
first spell. So the first spell. So when I took over Darlow first time, I walked into the change room. We're going about contracts. I've got to flick just quickly back. So Sean Gregan, who ended up being a player for me, who I ended up representing him and I sold him. I'd gone and met him 3 weeks before I took the Darlow job. Someone had asked me to go and speak to him. He was having a contract problem with Darlow and what could I write? So anyway, I met him. I said to him, you should be on at least 250 quid a week. I got the job. He was the first player to see me. Gaffer, you told me 250. I was giving 120. He went berserk. I said, yeah, but I'm the manager now. I'm have to control the money. So anyway, that was the thing. But my biggest strength as a football person is having the ability to make judgment on players quicker than anybody else. And I'll take on any of these guys in the data world today. You put us in a room with a game or two games and I'll tell you which player will make it, okay? So I've took over this group of kids and I knew there was players in there. We got off to a reasonably good start and we started picking up silly results, bad results, draws, etc. So I put every single one of them on the transfer list after a Scarborough game, the whole lot. Full team, transfer list. It went media. Like if it was in today's world, Jesus Christ, but Titan Tees were down, the cameras were here. And I said to Jim, who was my assistant, Jim Platt, I said, I ain't come to train all week. You take it, do what the hell you want. I'll see you in the hotel on the Friday night. So I drove down on the Friday night to the hotel and went in my car. They went on the team bus and I went in the room and I got them all into the room and I put all the beers in. This was a bit of a Joe Fagan one came into me, by the way. Put all the beers on. I said, right, get yourselves a drink. We'll go a game tomorrow. I said, you had a game last weekend, but it didn't do any good. Joe Fagan, right? Saying to me, Hodgie, do you go out? No, we'll go out next time. Okay, so I did a little bit of that. I said, get a drink. So I made them all get a drink. And you know what players are like? You have a couple of drinks, get a loose tongue. So I sat down and I spoke to them. And I said, look, I'm telling you now, and I'm the only one who believes this. In this change room today, I know there's 3 or 4 kids in here. You will go on to play at the highest level. You're sitting here and you probably think I'm not. And I hadn't had a drink, by the way, so they couldn't think I was drunk. I said, but the problem is you don't know how to win. You can play. You are good players. I says, but the only person who knows that is me. Because I put you all on the transfer list and not one single club's come in for any one of you. Nobody wants you. But I'm here, me here. I don't need to be here, lads. I can go home today and do whatever I want in life. I don't have to be here. But I'm telling you now that you, if you start listening to me and believing in me and taking in what I'm saying to you, we will win this league. They must have thought, all right. Anyway, the bottom line was, left them with it. I said, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm in my car. And Andy Crosby was the captain at the time. I said, Crosser, you're captain. I'm going to leave you. You can drink all of that. I don't care. It's all paid for. Don't worry. Drink it. But when you're ready, I'm downstairs. Come and get me. If you want me to come back up, it's because you want me to stay. If you come down and say, Gaffer, the lads have lost trust in you, I'll live with it. I don't have a problem with that. I'll get my car and I'll drive home.
And you're willing to go?
100%. Okay? 100%. I'm gone. An hour or so later, took me an hour to work out, by the way. I thought they'd be down in 5 minutes. I thought, yeah. I thought it'd be 5 minutes at least. So they came down. And Crosby said, Gaffer, the lads would love you to come back up, please. I went back and I said, right, what do you want to do? We want you to stay. Okay. We went 8 games, won every game. So now we're coming up against Rochdale in the FA Cup. The club goes and sells a goalkeeper called Mike Pollett to Notts County. I knew the deal was on because I'd instigated it, but I wanted it to happen when we were out the FA Cup. So that was the deal. So on the Thursday, I come into training. Jim Platt's already there. I was travelling at the time. Jim said, got a problem. I said, what? He said, they've sold Mike Pollett. I said, they better not have. So they sold Mike Pollett. So I had to get a goalkeeper. So I got John Burridge in on loan from Newcastle. So John came in very urgent, late thingy. We went to Rochdale. So I said to Jim, right, Jim, we'll beat these today. Okay, I said, I need you to back me here. I'm going to resign at half-time. I'm going to hand the letter in at half-time when the lads have gone out, so the players don't know. They're not aware of it. I'm going to hand the letter in, you're with me, and then on Monday morning, when we beat these, I will come in on Monday morning and I will force the club to let me make sure that all future transfers are taken care of by me, that I run the club when it comes down to players, okay? He said, boy, you're fine. Anyway, the problem is he didn't come with me. So I went at half-time, I handed my transfer request in, told them not to open it till the kick-off. So they opened it and they realised I'm gone. So at the end of the game, during the game, Jim went and stood 10 metres from me, didn't stand next to me. So I knew he was going to come with me. We drew. They scored quite late on, if I remember rightly. So we really won. So I'd go and tell all the lads, I hugged them all, loved them, blah, blah, and said, I'm leaving. The lads were like shocked. I left. Mark Barnard was in the car with me because we travelled from Sheffield. I forgot about him. Left him. It's when I was driving home, I went, oh, Barney. Shit. So on the way home, who's the draw? Liverpool. We got Liverpool in the next round if we beat Rochdale at our ground. So I get home, tell my wife, and she said, you've got to go back. I said, no. I regret it now. I said, no, I'm not going. Jim got the job. He didn't come with me. He stayed. And we got beat off Rochdale. And my argument would have been, or was at the time, if we win that round, I didn't know we were going to get Liverpool, but we knew we were in the big hat. Whatever we sold Mike for, we were getting in the next round anyway. They didn't have that vision.
Yeah.
So I walked out, resigned.
And this is your first management job?
First management job, yeah.
7 months into your first management job?
Yeah, well, I joined in the June and I walked out in November. First time.
Yeah.
Walked out.
Got a lot of self-belief to on that.
Oh, no, that was never a problem for me. That handing that in was me and my beliefs.
Yeah.
Dealing with being where I was as a player was two different things. I'm now looking after a group of players.
Yeah.
I'll fight tooth and nail for every single one of them. I sit here today and say I never, ever fell out with a player over 10 years. Ever. Because I never, ever, ever got personal. Told a few off, by the way. Pinned a couple. Apologised straight after it.
No shots.
No guns. But, you know, like on that, no problem. Directors, I'm a director's nightmare. I am a director's nightmare. So I walked out, came back a year later. But I went back on the deal was I had total control of the club. All transfers, all wages, everything. Even the point, the kit, the whole lot. Because these people they couldn't look after money. No chance.
And did that work?
Oh, yeah, it worked, yeah. We never went backwards. We never finished the season. The following season went below.
Yeah.
We always went 4 or 5 seasons above. And we did that with no budget. Our budget was the lowest, without question. Second or second, definitely in the bottom 3 of the league every year. Every year.
Is this when they buy what with the new stadium and that? So around that time?
So no, Mike, the new stadium came out under George Reynolds. Prior to that was a guy called Mike Peden who'd bought the club, didn't have a penny, Mike. I actually met him many years after and actually gone quite well with him. But at the time, Mike didn't have a penny. Our club was bust. So I bought a player called Jason DeVos. That ring a bell to you?
Mm.
So I paid out my own money for Jason DeVos from Canada. Blah, blah, blah. So I paid 10 grand for him. Spoke to the Football League, got how to do it because it was my money. They explained everything, what I needed to do, blah, blah, which I did, all by the book. So I bought Jason, brought him in and sold him to Dundee United for 450 grand. Okay, at this point, George Reynolds is now coming into the club. So we got 450 grand for Jason. So 20% sell-on was for me, so technically 80 grand was supposed to be my money. So George was buying the club, and before he bought the club, he came. I went to have a meeting with him, and I said, right, listen, this players were getting paid, but the office staff and the commercial staff and the catering staff were not getting paid. And I said to George, I'll sanction the deal because I really had control because this club owed me so much money. I had the ace card. So George says to me, I said, well, I'll tell you what you do. Pay everybody off for Christmas, please. Not off, but pay them. That was a deal, and that's what he did. So I'd take my cap off to the gentleman because he paid the money without the deal done. But I had my 80 grand outstanding. So he said to me, but what happens here is, what happens if I buy this club and you hit me with that 80 grand? I'm going to tell you this is true now. And if anyone here has got a brain or a calculator, try doing it. So the 80 grand, it got paid compound interest on a daily basis, 4% above base rate. So to give you an idea, on the first day that they didn't pay me my 80 grand dollar, put 12% on it. So that's what, 92 grand, first day. Second day, put 12% on the 92 grand. And do that for 2 years. And the calculations, and a law firm in Teesside did it. They calculated, it worked out at something like 6 point something million quid. Don't get me wrong, Darlington Football Club made the 80s, so they're not going to pay me 6 million, are they? So, but I had the hand, the golden hand, or the golden goose or whatever. So I said to George, tell you what I'll do, you do that, I will waiver that. Everything, bar me outstanding money. So he paid all the staff, Christmas and everything. When he took over the club, I tore the agreement up. So he technically owed me only the 80. I never got it, by the way, okay? But that was the deal with him. So that's how he got control of Darlington Football Club. And then from then, it was like a roller coaster with this guy, George. He was like, wow, mad.
Why didn't you get your 80?
He was due to pay me. He tried to pay me in cash to start with, which ain't going to happen, because I also know George at the time. And he'd do me. If I took that cash, he would do me. 100%.
Report you like?
100%. Yeah, he'd stitch you. So anyway, the bummer is, at that moment of time, it never happened. And it wasn't important. It was to do with the team. So obviously, the 99-2000 side went on to Wembley. That was the second time I went. The first time as well, my first time. Second time went Wembley and the club thingy. And then I walked out after the Wembley game because he was then starting to threaten players, making phone calls to them, threatening them this, threatening them that. And then I went to see him. Said, this stops now.
Threatening them with what?
Threatening him. Oh, George,
like
threatening him.
violence?
Break your
or...
legs. Yeah, you're getting your legs broken. If you don't leave the club, your legs are getting broken. All these things. George, that's what George was like.
It?
Oh, no, listen. If you go on lookalike here, you'll find out what he's done.
What was his background?
George.
Sorry.
George was a bank robber. Safe cracker.
No wonder he's offering you cash.
He was a safe cracker. He spent a long time in prison, George.
Did you never think it could threaten me? Or
Well, so here we go. So the incident with the radio, I told you, I got the police say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, which I went ahead with it, okay? Little Pete after that, I've gone in to take my daughters into school, and one of the coaches, Stuart Gibson, who now lives in Scandinavia, he ran away from George, he was in the car park waiting for me. So I've come in, I see him, I think, Kibbo, what are you doing here? He said, I need to talk to you. I said, yeah, of course. I said, well, I'll get the girls in. So I took my little ones down, put them in school, come back, and he said, I need a word in the car. We get in the car. He said, who you been talking to last night? And I come out with the thing. He said, and he recited me conversation. Actually, I was talking to Paul Heckenbottom, believe it or not. I said, Hecky. He said, your house is bugged.
What?
I said, are you sure? He said, I've just left a meeting at the club this morning. George is saying, he's got you. Got me? What the hell's he been? Got me. Hey, Joe, he wanted to frame me. He wanted something on me to discredit me, okay?
Yeah.
So I said, you've got to be serious. So I rang to a friend of mine called Martin Corney. I said, Martin, I've got a problem here. My house is bugged. And his relative is top in the police force down south. They sent a team up with all the equipment. Myself, my wife, my daughters had to move out for about 3 or 4 hours. And they went and done everything. And he tapped all the telephone lines into the house. So what it was he could hear me speaking, but he didn't know who I was speaking to. So he bugged me. So he was hell-bent on destroying me, okay? Hell-bent.
But you're manager at this point.
No, I've just left. I've gone. I've walked out now.
Right.
So I'm thinking.
And is this a personal
This is personal.
vendetta?
This is personal. George, because George grew up on a very difficult childhood and hated rejection. He was rejected as a child in theory. And he looked upon that I rejected him. I didn't reject him. I walked away because of the circumstances, okay? I did reject him in a way, but not like he would think. So he had this type of mentality, okay?
You've walked away from him. He's going to tear you down.
So my house is bugged, so we already know it's gone. He'd already said he would destroy me. Publicly said it, I will destroy him. He went to unbelievable lengths. So worst case scenario is my accountant now lives in Bawtry, South Yorkshire. I drive down to Bawtry. I've walked in and he's as white as that light is shining on us right now. I said, what's wrong? He said, that's George Reynolds. I said, are you serious? He said, he knows you're here. How the hell could he know I'm here at the thingy, right? So he then proceeds to tell me what George had requested, wanted all of my accounts, annual accounts, sending up. And I said, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. He's an accountant, for God's sake. So anyway, we talk, whatever, I can't remember what it was about, blah, 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 and I drive back, and as I'm on my way home, he rings me on the car phone. He said, David, I'm so sorry. I've sent everything to him. He said, I have. So I came home here, went in there, got all my checkbooks, everything, bank statements, the lot, put them in a big bin liner, walked up to Shildon, so the office is about crowfly 5 miles from here, and I threw the bin liner in. I said, you don't need to have all the accountancy details. There's everything in my life is in there. You'll never find a thing on me because I don't do it. All my principles and morals in life are all the things that you do not. So we had this big argument, bust up, blah, blah, blah. And then he had to calm down. I walked out, and one of his right-hand man at the time, Luke Rain, who happened to be a lovely, lovely man, by the way, calls me, he said, you don't know what you've started here. And this went on for a long time. In the end, I ended up now going to live in Argentina. It wasn't running away from him, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that wasn't the case. I was just going. Okay? It was right. I took my wife, my daughters, and off we went to live. Come back a year or so later, only because I chose the wrong schools for my daughters and education was going terrible. My wife said, we've got to go back. It was only back about a month or so, and I had this idea about turning the old Feethams into a sports centre. The only problem was I had to get in touch with George, but I knew he'd left. He'd got the stadium was built then. So I had to get in touch with him. And I rang him up, blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, next night he rings me back. I need you to come back. And I said, you've got no chance. My daughter heard that and she said, oh, Dad, go back, because she knew my love. So anyway, long story short, I then have to think about it and now I have to agree. But I have to look at it and think, hold on, yeah. Go on.
You're going to go...
I'm going back to the guy who's tried to destroy me.
Budget out.
It wasn't about George Reynolds. This is about Darlington Football Club. We were bottom of the league. Bottom, okay? And it was hurting big time for me personally.
No, but that's not really your whole responsibility. It's not your responsibility, is
but
it?
That's just how, unfortunately, that's just how stupid I am.
Yeah.
Okay? So I agree. So they set up a press conference. Well, you can imagine, right? This has been on national TV. This has been on national radio and everything. And all of a sudden, I've now decided to go back to Darlington Football Club with George.
This is a man who said he's going to ruin you.
Destroy
tap
me.
your house.
Destroy me. He's sent to
your
the News of the World a false document that the News of the World printed.
Saying what?
I sued, that I was an agent and I took this money and that money, all lies.
Yeah.
Okay? Falsified an invoice. I won. I took the News of the World on and won. So they had to pay me. Okay?
Yeah.
I am correct. Okay? So I didn't have a problem with that. So I had to go, but I'm going back. We're bottom of the league. Lisa, my secretary, previously said, we need you badly. So I said, I'll come back, okay. So going to the press conference, I had a document drawn up. I handed it to Luke. I said, read that to him. So Luke read it and he turned around and he says to me, you can't be serious. I said, I'm serious. Tell him to sign it and I'll stay. If he doesn't sign it, I get up and he can speak to every one of these press in here now. So the document basically said he could never come back to Darlington Football Club while I was manager of the football club, even though he owned it. He could never come to ground, he could never come to a match, couldn't do anything. He signed it. Press conference went ahead. They didn't know. I took that document, I took it straight to the training ground and I pinned it on the wall. Big centre forward called Barry Conlon.
Yeah.
He was the first one to read it. And then the lads all gathered round. Some of them I knew, some I didn't know. And he reads it and he says, Gaffer, how have you got him to sign that? I said, do you think that's a good thing? He said, oh, absolutely. I said, nah, that's the worst thing that can happen for you as a group of players. And they look at me and I said, sit down. So I sit down and said, see that there? That's took the pressure off George Reynolds. Let's put the pressure on you now. Because on Saturday, they've been booing him for the last 10 games. They can't boo him anymore because he's not going to be in the ground. Yous are. So it's yous and there's me. Pressure's on you guys now. Deal with it. That was the reason behind doing it.
Did they win?
We went on a great run. We won the league, by the way, and we went out as administration. We couldn't sign anybody. And we stayed in the league. But the problem was, on Saturdays when these lads were playing, the fans were just turning on George Reynolds.
Yeah.
They didn't give a damn about the result. They just wanted him out the ground. So the pressure was on the lads then, they all delivered, but Big Baz Conlon was magnificent. He had an angle twice the size of it should have been, and I said to him, you can't be seriously thinking about it. He said, I'll be out there tomorrow for you. He turned and he played. Brilliant.
Somebody asked about him, didn't they?
Brilliant. Great lad.
Big Baz were the one with the fish.
Fish, was he mad as a hatter?
Mad as a march. He came to me, I won't be in tomorrow. I said, Baz, but he said, Gaffer, St. Patrick's Day, it's tradition. I'll probably have too much to drink. I won't. I said, okay, son, fair enough. He's incoming. I didn't have a problem with that. Wasn't about what he did Monday to Friday. It's how he delivered, and he delivered every Saturday. Great kid.
I can't believe you went back.
I went back, yeah.
I know.
It must have been like, what are you doing?
But in a way, she was a little bit, she probably felt that we lost a bit of credibility with people.
Yeah.
Because of everything that had happened and everything that had gone on. But it wasn't that. It wasn't about credibility. It was about how do I and the players, how do we keep this team in the league? Because if we go out the league, we're gone. Look where we are now at times, it's heartbreaking.
Did you never fear for your life or your family's life? It sounds like he was a wrong-un.
No,
proper wrong-un.
George was a wrong-un. Of course he was. George was a wrong-un.
Fucking right
No,
he was.
Listen, he threatened so many people. I wasn't the only one. He'd gone around houses and done things like you would not. He honestly, he was actually a genius as well, by the way. When it come to business, if he'd only just listened to himself at times, he was a genius. I signed a goalkeeper called Andrew Collett, sorry. And it was it was when he was first come in the club, George. He hadn't not long been in. And Andy comes up with his agent. The deal was done, and there was the agent's fee. And of course, I've been an agent, so I know they're entitled to have a fee. And George had got Lisa Charlton to draw this document, unknown to me, by the way. And he's got this document, and I could see it on the desk, and I was sort of there. And the agent's asking for his fees. It was like 5 or 10 grand. George would not give a penny away. So he's not giving this guy nothing. But at the end of the day, the guy's arguing about his money, and I have to defend the agent because he's done a good job. Okay? So he turned around and he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Gets this letter from there, Luke passed the letter. And I see 100 grand wrote across the top. And he said, right, I'll tell you what I'll do. You want 10 grand? He said, I'm going to give you 100 grand agent's fee. So this agent sat there. He doesn't see. I'd gone and see, by the way. I couldn't see the 100 grand on the top. His eyes light up. But you've got to sign that. So he turns it, and the guy's reading through, and boom, boom, boom. And he's gone to the bottom. I don't know what he's there, by the way. He says, are you serious or what? He said, no, sign it. Hold on, you're going to pay me 100 grand, but only if Andy doesn't let a goal in. He said, well, hold on, you're telling me he's that good, he's not going to let a goal in. The guy got up and walked out. Didn't pay him a penny. Never paid him a penny. The guy just said, oh, I've had enough. Lifted him and walked out. I cried. I actually cried. But that was a genius, how he swung it round. Incredible. But there was a lot more things I could tell you, but we can't because it's now, it's 5:30. My wife's come through the door and last year.
On that note, so save that for another day.
Absolutely fantastic, that, mate. Thank you very much, Dave.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
Threatening the lads.
To share, honestly, I could tell you so many.
Yeah. Mental story.
We did tell you we're a quite an obscure relationship, didn't we?
Like, I can't believe I know it was all over the papers and stuff at the time, but like house tapping and phone tapping and
I can't believe he
went back.
yeah, that's
but also if fought fire with fire, he didn't back down.
No, I'd have been yeah.
Yeah, I'd have been.
Yeah,
After you, George.
leave it there. Sorry, George. I'd even apologise for him tapping me house.
It were all my fault, George.
Only because I got the impression that he could have done anything to get rid of him.
Oh, why?
Like, just make him disappear.
Can you imagine that call though for him to come back? Like the tail between the legs, the egg on the face.
That must have been very, very tough for Reynolds.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he's in the shit, but
There's only one man for the job.
only one man to sort this out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because these are good mints. My favourite mints.
Not so good
these
for
days.
the sound.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's...
Good episode.
I'm not going back, I don't think. Personally.
From his point of view.
Not if he's tapped your fucking house.
Very knowledgeable fellow, wasn't he, about players and well, good. I'm probably off air on it about agents and his. I can't remember if we spoke about it in the episode, but I'm going to expose you, John. You're off the wagon. 2 pints on a Wednesday afternoon. You haven't been in the gym in 3 days.
So you did one when Big Ron's cider come on the table. I saw you. Anybody want? What was the phrase?
A light drink.
A light drink. Anybody care for a light drink at the table?
I am not passing up the opportunity to have a pint with Ron Atkinson.
This is a fact. Ron Atkinson loves cider.
Fruity cider.
Fruity cider.
Fruity strawberry it was.
But back to my original point. You haven't been in the gym all week. 3 days.
Yeah.
2 pints on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Sort yourself out.
Sorry, lads.
Exposing you in front of...
I've let myself down. Let my family down. I let the kids down. I'm really, really sorry, everybody.
You take the plaudits. You take the criticism.
I'm not, as I said, I'm not passing the opportunity to have a pint with Ron Atkinson. I've had a pint with Atkinson. I can die now, can't I?
Anything else, Chris?
Friday Club. Anything else? Friday Club, yeah. What volume went out?
5, wasn't it?
5.
You've got me
Weddings,
confused.
weren't we?
Weddings
or sorting. Oh, and you know, the relationship advice that we talked about it. We'd love an update. Mm-hmm. Long email came last night after we finished recording.
Have we got an update?
Have we got an update? Have we got an update?
We'll save it for next week.
I'm going to have to start looking at these emails.
So we've got that to look forward to next Friday. As well as a couple of other good emails that I've seen. So,
all of a similar ilk.
Yeah, all similar ilk.
They've all got the same
relationship advice, farting.
Oh, that was about that one Friday.
What was that?
The guy in Australia.
I know.
No, it came out Friday, so...
Yeah, Sunday brunch.
Oh, nah, then. I was laughing trying to get to sleep to that. Not on a Sunday. No, not on a Sunday.
So yeah, if you've not listened to Friday Club, it's only on audio on Spotify and Apple. And as always, we mentioned at the start of the show, thank you to you Patreons. Links in the description if you fancy again.
Not all heroes wear capes, but you do, folks.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, don't we?
This isn't Cosh related, but did you see a complete randomer retweeted Dan from Nottingham's Sky advert and said, anyone else think that Dan from Nottingham looks like Andrew Tate?
Oh dear.
They didn't tag us in it or anything. Somebody had seen it on like a random...
Oh dear.
A poor man's, I think it was
poor man's Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate off Wish, I think it was.
Wish Andrew Tate.
But you are like 2 peas in a pod with your thoughts on stuff, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Next weekend.
20th and the 21st, we're in...
Should we leave that in or a bit more?
Well, we just keep it natural, Chris.
All right.
We've had word from behind.
Right, all right.
Our producers.
So the 20th of April, we're in Carlisle for a live show.
Yes.
Paddy Warnock, shall we say. He's still got loads of good Irish stuff and all, by the way.
Yeah, and then we're up in Scotland, in Glasgow.
With Paddy Kenny. He's got some great Irish stuff, not just the Warnock stuff. So 20th, Carlisle. 21st, Glasgow.
Yeah, and he tells a good tale, doesn't he?
And I will be falling off the wagon that weekend, lads.
If you like drinks.
I hope you're falling off it with me. Be much appreciated.
A few light drinks.
So yeah, thank you, Patreons. Thank you for listening to Friday Club.
Yeah, and the link's in the description for the tickets as well. Or you can just go over to undrthecosh.com, go to the live section, and all the tickets are there. If you fancy coming down.
Apologies for his April Fool's tweet as well.
Yeah, I tell you, we should have talked about that yesterday as well.
I know, we didn't. How was he getting away with that?
Trot.
Might be 4th. It's one of them tongue in cheek now though. It's gone too. It's gone far.
Do you think people will be disappointed next year
if
you
don't
do
it? If it was not there, people are like,
I won't
"What's
be.
up with him?"
I think for the 3rd year in a row, the joke's been on us because we had people saying it's about time, lads, and I've cancelled.
I had to clarify that. I think I went lad singular, not plural.
It weren't me. I'll be honest with you now. It weren't me. He's done it, and then he's messaging me saying, "Can you just take the blame for us?"
So thing is, you need to be careful what you confirm and deny because there was that much. What's the word? You convince yourself that much there, as much as you did when you said you didn't wank in the car in traffic.
Yeah. So everybody's going to look at that. Everybody knows it's you. You're putting a brave face on and telling a tall tale, And everybody's going to be like, oh, John's a good liar.
Just be careful what you confirm and deny.
There were no wanking in traffic.
But
That's
all I'm
what the
saying.
report says.
see you next week.